Hey, guess what I was finally able to watch? You know that movie I brought up in my Snow White review that, I wasn't able to find, and, that movie that, happened to be released the exact same month, just days before Snow White was, and, it's also based on a Brothers Grimm story. It also has a female protagonist. This group of seven, the seven something that are in the title. Um, and then I also remember saying in there that an evil witch is the villain, but after watching the movie, I guess I was wrong. But um, there's some other coincidences. There's a prince who hits on the girl, and there's although I guess we do spend a lot more time with him than the guy in Snow White. There's a fairy and a magical fairy, so it's that's kind of leaning closer to Pinocchio. And I think I remember there was something else, but I don't know. There's a jester that narrates. That's not in any of the movies I've seen so far, but But yeah. All right, so I'll just get down to the story. There's this girl, and she overhears some women talking about how she's responsible for her brother's disappearance, or something that happened to her brothers. And she talks to her mom, and she basically explains that she was born as the youngest with seven older brothers. One day the brothers lose this bucket in a well, and then I don't know, the father gets angry with them or something, and wishes they turned into ravens. I don't know how that works, but somehow the girl is blamed for this, even though technically I'd probably say the father is mostly to blame, or if anyone. I mean, I guess more than anything, what's to blame is this magical force, which I guess was this fairy. I don't know, she listened to what the dad said, and she was like, okay. So yeah, the brothers turned into ravens, and then the girl decides she wants to go looking for them, but she can't find them anywhere. She wishes someone would tell her how to, bring them back. And then the fairy appears. She basically tells her that she's gotta go silent for 7 years. She can't talk, and she's also got to sew 7 shirts. So yeah, so she becomes a forest dweller. So she's she leaves society for 6 years before a prince finds her, and she spends the last year with him, but she never talks. So then one day they have 2 sons, twin boys, but the babies suddenly turn into ravens, and people think she's a witch, and they sentence her to be burned, or she has a chance to defend herself, but only if she talks, but she can't talk because she wants to bring the brothers back. So, yeah, they sentence her to getting burned to death. And then, basically, in the nick of time, the brothers return, and, yeah, everything's saved. I guess there's a little bit of character development, but, there's not a whole lot that I'd consider, super compelling. The Jester's kind of an interesting character, but, yeah, not a whole lot to say. This was good. I'm impressed for what it is, considering how early on it was. I mean, this is much older than most of the movies I've reviewed by this point. Yeah, Prince Ahmed, Tale of the Fox, and New Gulliver. Those are the only movies I've reviewed so far that came before this one, and they're probably going to remain that way. I don't know if I'm ever going to find any other 30s animated movies, but sorry if I sound a little louder than usual. My handkerchief is in the wash. So anyway, this was stop motion animated, and it looked nice. Can't say it was amazing. It's not as good as the other stop motion movies of this decade, but still, it's good enough. The story was fine, but at the same time, it had its flaws. I don't know. There was just something about near the end, they kind of try to the prince is kind of pushed to sign this paper so that his wife can get executed, because if he doesn't, then society's gonna think there's no justice in the kingdom, even though it seems like most of the people there don't want the princess to get executed. Or is she the queen? I forget. But, royalty can be kind of confusing in these movies, but what else? It had kind of an abrupt ending. Basically, it just ends with the jester telling off these other guys who I guess wanted the princess dead. And yeah, it just abruptly cuts to a curtain closing, and then that's it. I think there was probably something else put in after that was removed from this version, because this version did seem a little choppy at times. So it's probably it's how these older movies might have some parts cut out because they can't be found or something. But yeah. What else? I mean, yeah, it's fine. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say about the movie itself. It's impressive enough for the time it was made, but yeah, I have seen more impressive stories by now from Russia and stuff, but otherwise it kind of feels like your typical fairy tale based movie. I've seen plenty of those by this time. There's not a whole lot in terms of personality. You've heard the song and dance from me if you've been watching my videos, but oh yeah, and this movie was released by Germany during the Nazi regime. So yeah, there's that. I did bring it up in my Snow White video. So yeah, I guess I'd give it a 7 out of 10. If you're interested, it might be worth checking out. Of course, there's one last question. Since I already did a list ranking all of the animated movies of the pre-1940s, and this happens to fall into that category, where would I place it in that list? I'd probably place it at 4th place. So yeah, it's I place it higher than either of the Gulliver movies, but still lower than Tale of the Fox, Prince Ahmed, and Snow White. So it's yeah, I'd say technically it's more impressive than the two. Well, okay, it's not as technically impressive as New Gulliver, but it. I'll prefer watching it over New Gulliver and its squeaky audio, and all the characters, and the Fleischer movie did have some issues to it. So even though I still like that one, so yeah, I like this movie. It's just not a favorite of mine. If I saw it when I was supposed to, early on in my series, then yeah, I'd probably be much more positive of it. But by this point, I'm less impressed by these kinds of movies. So, but yeah, I still appreciate this movie for what it is and what time it was released. But yeah, I'd still say it's just good. 7 out of 10. I'd still recommend it if you're interested. And yeah, That's about all there is to say. Mash it and smash it, signing off.